There, they'll all turn. Right here for Cheryl.
Real big.
Milton Dunn.
I'm Bob Bleidig.
I'm taking
Bob's son.
I'm taking that for this place.
Oh, great. That's more like it. Where's Goosey? Oh, no. There's my sister. How's it going?
Oh my God! Look at
Uh-oh, moving camera.
Oh, yeah.
You're in deep trouble.
Yep. What family's this?
Jim
This is the Mayhalls. Okay.
Yeah.
All Mayhalls?
Sort of.
Sort of?
Yeah.
Well, now you've got the...
Uncle Jim.
There you go.
Our Uncle Jim.
Okay. Gotcha. What? Oh, I've got this Japanese in me, you know, I just have to... Oh, I never did. I didn't. I know I didn't. I would have remembered that. Mentioning that we've had squadrons, you know, an entire squadron to have less people come to for these memorials. So it's really incredible to have this number of people, and it really kind of demonstrates your dedication to this and also your appreciation. It really means a lot to us that you're out here. But what I'm going to do is let you guys go do your tour here. But I wanted to give you just a brief overview of the museum itself, so you'll have an idea of what we have here and what you might be interested in. The reason we typically don't do guided tours, especially for larger groups, is the fact that well, everybody's different. Some people want to sit there and read every text panel, and some people just want to kind of, you know, browse around. We have close to about 2 hours of film footage here in different theaters. So of course, some people want to watch all of them, some people don't want to watch any of them. So we really try to make an environment so that people can have a tour to follow chronologically, or else some people can just jump back and forth and see different items. We do have maps, which you each have, which just give the basics of where you are going to start versus where all the different exhibitry is. You're going to start at Prelude to War, which of course gives you a general overview of Germany's invasion and occupation of various countries in Europe. We want to make sure that you understand why World War II occurred, when it occurred, and it's often used for a lot of our school groups who come in here who may not have a good understanding or any understanding of when even World War II may have occurred. So, but that's where you're going to start in the museum and then follow the pathway through the rest of the museum. Want to make sure that you get a chance to see the mission experience. What it is a multimedia theater experience. It's a simulation of a bomber mission, and we're really blessed here to have a lot of World War II and some post-World War II veterans to volunteer here, and they'll be there to guide you through the mission experience. So I believe that's number 4 on your maps there. Number 4 on your map, which is the mission experience. So definitely if you get a chance to see that. But otherwise, you just follow through the numbers and the pathway and go throughout the museum. If you have any questions or problems or anything whatsoever, all you have to do is go to the admissions desk and they'll try to help you out, or else they'll contact me. I'll be more than happy to help you out in any way. And want you to just enjoy yourselves and your tour, and hopefully get a good appreciation of the patriotism, the sacrifice, and just the incredible contributions that the World War II vets did during the 1940s to really preserve, our country the way it is today. We're very happy to be here to preserve that history, but we really enjoy it when other visitors such as yourselves come here to try to understand that history as well, and hopefully are inspired by it and try to take a little bit with you. So, on that note, I'll go ahead and let you guys get started on your tour.
The Memorial Park.
Oh, definitely. I'm sorry.
That's right.
Yeah, I guess, and that also definitely relates to why you're here today. We do have our Memorial Gardens, which I don't want you to miss. It is listed on your map, but it's right outside the doors here. You'll see some windows, and you can walk out into the gardens where we have various memorials to some of the different groups. One of the memorials specifically is a memorial to a school that was destroyed by an aircraft crashing into it. And a lot of these veterans put these memorials up to try to pay tribute to either the crews that were flying, some of the groups, or even some of the individuals that really inspired them or had a very big impact in their lives. And it's one of the more popular aspects of our tour. Of course, a lot of people come to Savannah for the climate. It's right outside. It's a beautiful environment. But we are doing construction out there. If you'll go outside and see on the right side, some dirt is being turned over. We're having a chapel constructed out there. And it's called the Chapel of the Fallen Eagles. We've had so many people who want to have memorial services here, or they want to have, some people want to have funerals out here, but we've even had a lot of couples come up and ask us about doing weddings here. So it's almost one of those things where you see a lot of people are really into the environment that we have here. But it's going to be based on an Old English chapel. And it's going to be quite a large chapel, though, and it's really exciting on our end. But that's what you'll see to the far right side, and we're also placing some aircraft out there, so that's going through restoration at this point. But if you get a chance, spend some time out there by the reflecting pool and get a chance to understand the environment. We're really excited about it here. But unless there's anything else,
and if at 3:30, if we'll gather back in here for the dedication ceremony of the plaque. Okay. Great. I have extra maps. If anybody needs a map, raise your hand.
Oh, Will. Okay, all right.
Well, they call me both.
Can I get a shot of you guys together?
Will, I don't know.
Yeah, we said that's
okay.
yeah.
Thanks again. He was Vietnam.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I need to get a shot of you guys together.
He wants a shot of you and I together for some reason.
That's video. Yeah, so it's not silent film.
I was in Germany in the 70s when we didn't have any trouble with the Germans. Not that I...
Your dad down at Miami, and he had come home after. Spangler left first, then I left, and then Throckmorton and Columbus came later. So we were getting ready. We'd just been assigned to Texas when your dad, almost like getting on one train and another one getting on the other. We met and chat like we do. He said he just got married. I said, that's great. He says, how are things? I don't know. He says, I called home. And he says, I was married 3 days ago and the party's still on. So he got off the train and I got on the train, and we lost each other for about 45, 50 years, I guess, until you guys and Spangler all got
I think
together.
when we had gone through Springfield several times, we stopped and checked the phone book.
We tried to find a May Hall. We always heard that your dad was in the lumber business, which I suppose in the feed business they had lumber and all too, you know. He never talked much about it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I think they moved from Springfield up to Dover, Ohio, and then up to Minneapolis. So that may have been when you went through Springfield.
Yeah.
The only thing I remember, he never talked very much about any of the experiences. He never wanted to go camping with us, though, because he said he slept in a tent long enough.
Lived in a tent 7 months during the coldest winter that England had ever had.
Really?
Tell you stories about that.
Well, tell them now. Don't waste too much time.
Well, it was cold. We used to steal coal from the orderlies so that we could keep our things going until they finally posted a guard by the coal pile, so we wouldn't steal coal from them. And then Schonsbach, Throckmorton as we call him, discovered that these rings that come around bombs when they're shipped, they were laminated with some highly flammable thing. So we used to strip those. And at night when we go to bed, we strip them and put them in the stove. And the first one up, put a little lighter fluid on it, tip them off. And you could heat a tent
Okay.
About 5
so you didn't
minutes.
burn
So
it
I know
down.
why your dad didn't want it. He was the messiest housekeeper I ever saw. Oh, we loved him. We loved him. We knew which corner was his. His bed was piled high with books. He's a reader. He was very, very.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I remember.
He was the intellectual of the crew. That's said kindly. He was. Hated English girls. I don't know why. He just hated English girls for something.
Well, you're on the record.
I'm on the record.
like Mr. Spangler and Mr. Whiting and Mr. Tope to stand, and if everybody else would stand, and if they'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, hello everyone. Can everyone hear me all right in the back there? Try not to yell too loud to make everyone up front uncomfortable here. Did you have an enjoyable tour of the museum?
Very well.
Yes.
Great, great. We're very happy to be a part of this institution. As I mentioned before, it's it's an honor for us to be able to preserve this story and to present this story. I've been involved in the museum for about 2.5 years. The museum's been here for about 4 years, and as you can see, just 4 years old, this museum's gone through a lot of work, and the team here has gone through a lot of effort to put it together. But all in all, it's a labor of love, I guess is what you call it. Every day, I'll get a chance to meet a veteran. Whether it be a veteran of World War II, Vietnam, in some cases the Gulf War. I work very closely with the Air Force, the Air National Guard, to try to tell the story of the veterans and their service, and basically what they've done to make our lives easier. And a lot of us in my generation, and you have the younger school groups coming through, we really don't understand the hardships, the difficulties that occurred during World War II. We don't have to worry about only being allowed to have one pair of shoes in a year. Don't have to worry about the tire treads on our cars going out and therefore can't drive it, or not enough gasoline. Victory Garden. But also we really don't understand and truly understand everything that people during World War II went through. Teamwork. Working together with your neighborhoods if you're on the home front, or working together as a team on a B-17 crew if you're flying a bomber during World War II. And we just thinking about what these people went through, the sacrifice. Reading these personal accounts that people have written and donated to the museum. Every time I read it, I just think, I am so grateful for what you guys did during World War II to make it so I could be here today in a country that's free. Patriotism is something that a lot of people don't appreciate, respect for our country, but knowing what our country has done to have an impact on the world, it means a lot to me to be a part of this country, but also to be a part of the museum that's allowed to preserve this history. So overall, it's I enjoy getting paid for my job, but it's one of those things where it's more of a labor of love. Where every day I know I'm going to do something different, but I also know I'm going to be making a great contribution to trying to preserve this history, to make sure that the groups coming in here will learn something. Right now, the museum itself, we have about 110,000 visitors a year. Attendance is going up, drastically too, which is incredible. It makes us very happy to know that people want to come here. We had visitors from every state, all 50 states, but also we've had visitors from 48 countries. That's just last year. So we have people who are specifically coming to see the museum, or else people who are coming to the United States and all of a sudden say, hey, I'd like to check this out. It's really amazing. You go to England, they know exactly what the 8th Air Force is. You go to Germany, they know who the 8th Air Force is. But a lot of times in our backyards, the school children don't know who the 8th Air Force is. They don't know what they did. Really don't have a good idea in most cases. So that's why right now every 5th grader from this county is required to come to this museum. It's been deemed that they have to come here for a school field trip to learn about the 8th Air Force. We have also been called the official Center for Character Education. And what that means, I don't know if you've seen some of the banners we have here, but basically what we can do is teach character traits that you usually don't learn in school. Things such as teamwork, as I mentioned before, but also respecting your elders, respecting your country. Also, patriotism. All these other different factors. There's 27 different traits, and the state has deemed us the place. We are the first one that's been considered an official center, which means that we are pretty much the role model for other museums to come and look at us and say, this is how it needs to be done. So we know we're doing a great job, and we know we need to keep moving forward. Really our focus, like I said, is 8th Air Force, and we need to make sure that we keep our attention focused on the 8th Air Force and make sure that people understand and basically learn from your examples as serving during World War II and making sure that we can preserve this history. Overall, the museum, we have a lot of ambitious goals, receiving more aircraft. We have an F-4 Phantom from Vietnam era coming in, a B-47 bomber, which is the first functional jet bomber. This is a long-range jet bomber, which is being restored outside of our building right now. And we also have plans to get some of the different World War II aircraft, and of course one of them is the B-17 bomber. But we'd also like to get the U-24 bomber and some of the other aircraft. We have other things such as a consideration for an IMAX theater and other presentation mediums here. So it's really, we're developing, but also post-World War II is what we're going to move into as well. And really, a lot of kids don't know when Korea happened. A lot of kids don't even know that the Korean conflict even existed. Don't know that World War II occurred in the 1940s. And it's really, we feel it's our place to try to fill in that gap. If we can get a school group out here and give them a presentation so they'll understand that 1940s, this is when World War II occurred, that they can understand that the Vietnam conflict occurred and that these people were fighting for a cause as well. So we're really trying to be a part of this presentation. But overall, I don't want to go into too much detail of the museum because I know there's something very important we're here for and everyone's here for. But I guess once I start talking about the museum here, I get a little excited about what we're doing and our accomplishments. Really we are here to honor some individuals who served on the crew. And that crew, the aircraft name was the Goosey Lucy. And this is, of course, the 398th Bomb Group. We do have materials in the library, and at first when, like I mentioned, I was told that we'd have 70 people for this, and I told you how excited I was to know that there's this many people who believe trying to preserve this history. And it means a lot to me to know that you wanted to make that part of the museum and preservation of that history. And I just really hope you guys keep the spirit alive and make sure that your children, your grandchildren can remember this history. And I have to have one last word in and say, all the veterans in the room, do me a favor and write a book. Write about your experiences, whether it be 1 page, whether it be 100 pages, whatever you can do to make sure that your legacy lives on. And oral speaking words to your descendants, to your friends and family is very important. But if you can get that on paper, that means that people for generations can learn from what you have done to preserve our history and our way of life. So I just want to express my appreciation for all of you and everyone who came here to the memorial service and pass on back here.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'd like to thank the various families who have traveled to join us for this dedication. I think that it's an incredibly moving event that so many people, both old and young, were able to participate and learn about what these gentlemen did to make America what it is today. The Spangler family, thanks for coming. The Whiting family, who is well represented. The Tope family, the Schansbach family, and the Mayhall family and the extended Mayhall family. Thanks for coming. I'd like Harold, if you would come on up. Bob, if you would come up. Carl, if you join me, please. Come on up. Please. Yeah, for those of you who saw the film, it's hard to imagine how they did it. There's a passage from Isaiah that talks about the people who joined. It says, "I heard the voice of the Lord saying, 'Whom shall I send? Who will go for us?' Then said I, 'Here I am, Lord. Send me, send me.'" My son is 19 years old, and these guys are about the same age when they went flying and made America what it is today. And it still amazes me. So thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate it. And now this plaque is in dedication to the crew of the Goosey Lucy. gentlemen.
I'd just like to say on behalf of the museum, we accept this with smiles and want you to know that we will make sure that this item is preserved and that people will be able to go out into the gardens and reflect on the history and the sacrifice and everything these gentlemen have done for us. And we are honored that you all decided that we would be a good place to have this memorial, and I'd like to thank every one of you.
All right.
Designated, so I guess next time you come out to the museum, it's going to be within the next 2 months when it's going to be actually placed on the wall. But it's as you go out into the gardens, and then it's into the right side, and it's going to be right next to where the chapel is located.
But before I go through that, I've got to tell a few stories about my experience in corresponding with Harold Spangler and Bob Whiting. A couple of years ago, I had an opportunity to find out about my dad's crew, and I sent a letter to Harold Spangler, the pilot, indicating that my dad was the navigator and would like to find out more information. And Harold was kind enough to send a letter back with the picture that you see down here in front. And it had the names of the crew on the picture. And that picture had been around my family for years, and we never knew who anybody was. So I responded back saying, thanks very much for this picture. It was nice to find out who was who, because we didn't know. And I also mentioned that my wife knew who the pilot was because the pilot's always the best looking guy in the crew. Well, 2 weeks later, I got a letter from Mr. Whiting explaining that he had seen my correspondence with Harold Spangler and was delighted to have an opportunity to communicate with me. But he informed me that I was mistaken, that it's the co-pilot that's the best looking of the crew. And of course I had to let him know that really we all know it's the navigator that's the best looking. So, and it got passed down. Skipped a generation, so my sons are the best looking. The other funny story is I remember growing up in, well, I remember when I was younger, and reading comic books, and my mom would
That's all right.
shake her head, watching me waste away my life
Thank
reading
you.
comic books, and say, what would your father say? And I'm like, I have no idea. Well, if you get a chance to look through this book, there's a picture of my dad reading a comic book, laughing uproariously. So Mom, he liked them too. What can I say? He goes in the family. And then, as the crew members have not hesitated to remind me or explain to me, as the navigator, my dad's nickname was Columbus. And I thought that's kind of cool, he discovered America, that's right. But he was looking for China. So they made a lot of fun of him, but he got him home safe and sound every once in a while. So it was a lot of fun. We now have, want to pass out some mementos, and I'd like my helpers to come join me.
Go.
Mr. Whiting. Great, come on up, Heather. Mary, are you going to help us? Is Mary going to help us? All right, great. All right, so let me start out with recognizing the families who have shown up, and then if a representative would stand up so it's a little bit scattered, my Santa's helpers will bring you your memento. First of all, my wonderful aunt, Martha Walker, thank you for joining us. And Aunt Julie Arnold. And then Walt and Felice Gavin, and I'm not going to tell the story about Felice in public. Acknowledge yourself, Felice. Where are you, Felice? There she is, all right. Serious make is all I can say. Here's the next one. Natalie Walker. My cousin Natalie.
You have to look this way, darling.
David Walker. David, where are you? Where are you somewhere? No, that's not him. Oh, there he is. I recognize him now. He's way in the back. The funny looking guy. And then Larry and Cindy Walker. Where's Larry and Cindy? Over there. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I missed the Cobble part.
Larry and Cindy Walker. Thank you.
And then Doug and Barb Arnold. Thank you for joining us. Pardon? Okay. And then Barbara Arnold. Is that right? Did I do that right? There's so many names with these Arnolds, it's tough to keep them straight. All the way back there. The original Barbara Arnold. Sorry. To the Arnolds and the Walkers, thank you very much for joining us. It has meant a lot to the Mayhall family to have you guys join us. It's been terrific. All right, and then the next we're going to go down to Mayhalls. There's a ton of them. My sister Mary Snow. Where's Mary? There's Mary over there. To Mike and Linda Mayhall, my brother Mike. Straight back here. My niece, the daughter of my sister, Maggie would like to have Kate, if you'd come up, if you take us to Kate Moore, way back there. And then Robert Mayhall and Richard Mayhall. And they both look like, so just give it to them. I don't know, they're straight back there. I'll keep one for myself, okay? And then I'd like to introduce my brother Will, if he'd come on up, and he's going to say a couple of words for us all.
No, you got a lot more work.
Oh, yeah, we got lots more.
My mother couldn't be with us this weekend because of some illness that her husband is experiencing, but she wanted to be here, and she's here with us in another sense, so it's one of those things. Her sisters are both here, and we're glad to have them with us. My father was a child of the Depression, and he was raised by a single working mother. That's kind of a common thing today, I guess, but back then it was not. And they never had a lot of material possessions, but I love looking at the pictures of him and my mother back when they were in high school and college. They had a great time. They didn't miss the things that they didn't have. And in fact, I think my mother hid some of the pictures from us because she didn't want us to see what a great time they were actually having. Now, they married in 1945, right after they got back from England. And my sister Mary arrived in 1946. I arrived in 1947. Irish twins. Mike arrived in 1948. Then they slowed down a little bit. Maggie got here in 1950, Jim in 1952. And then the twins, the real twins, Richard and Robert, came in 1957. We had a great family life. My father and mother made sacrifices for us, but it was never anything that we felt badly about or even realized. It just was what they wanted to do with their lives. They were entirely dedicated to their children. It all seemed just the way things should be, except when we wanted to go camping. My father said, look, I spent the 7 coldest winter months in England in a tent. I'm never going in a tent again. So we were camping on our own. And when I look at their grandchildren, my nieces and nephews, I see a clear reflection of their love and their dedication to us. In the 60s, when we were all in college, and of course smarter than everybody else, we were pretty cynical about patriotism and honor. Now that I'm a little older, okay, a lot older, I'm glad that God has given me the wisdom to appreciate that duty, honor, and country were not just empty words to my father and his crewmates on the Goosey Lucy. I'm sure that he was looking down today as we tried as best we could to say thanks to him and to the rest of the crew members. Thanks very much. Mary, as a representative of the family, would you come up and get the special award? Thank you.
Thanks.
Mary would like to take a few minutes to say something.
Thank you.
For those of you who don't know, I worked for Will for about 8 years, and he was giving speeches all the time. That's the shortest one he's ever given, so you are all awfully lucky. Okay, the next, I'd like to recognize the Schanzbach family for joining us. And let me start with Susan Croft. If you want to take that to Susan for me. obeying, baby. Right down there, right to your left.
Not him.
And then Judy Dunn. Judy's all the way in the back. Thanks for joining us. And then Mary Ann Schonsbach, if you'd like to come up, please, to say a few words.
One thing I learned early on about my father was that he liked to give nicknames to everybody, and his children were no exception. He used to like to call his three daughters Alpha, Beta, and Omega. So I'd like to ask Beta and Omega to come up here and accept this with me. Chicken. Same things. As you can see, we're real close, even though she lives too far away. Dad never did talk a whole lot about his days in the service and in the war. I guess my first early memory of it was when I used to see him put grapes in the freezer, and questioned him about it one time. And after I realized that this was not normal, not every family has a freezer full of fruit, he told me that, well, Mary Ann, when I used to fly bombing missions in the war, and at that time I didn't know what he was talking about, but I knew if my daddy did it, it had to be important. And he said I would take fruit up with me to eat while we were on our way, you know, flying to where we had to go. And it would freeze, and I developed a taste for it because I liked it frozen. And so when he got home, every time we would get peaches or grapes or any kind of fruit like that, he would put it in the freezer. And it just stuck in my mind. I always remember every time, to this day, every time I see grapes, I think of my dad with this fruit in the freezer.
I'll say something. I'll say something. Okay. What just occurred to me was that I moved away about 7 years ago to Seattle from New Orleans, where we all grew up, and I didn't see my dad much, you know, in that time. But the last time I saw him was about 4 months before he died. And what was so special about that was that he actually let me take him to lunch, which was amazing, because he wasn't, you know, that kind of guy that would actually let anybody pay for anything for him, you know. And I thought that was so great. We were with my aunt, and we were sitting around the table. He really wasn't well then. He had had a lot, you know, happen to him, surgeries and whatnot, and wasn't well, wasn't eating much, but my aunt said to him over that lunch, "Tell Susan about that mission that you flew where you used to take naps in the back of the plane." And I thought, you gotta be kidding, you can sleep anywhere. And he went on and on about this story about how he used to just curl up in the back of the plane because he was so bored and he was so cold and there was nothing else to do. And he laughed and laughed and his eyes lit up, and I just thought, what a great last memory of my dad, because that ended up to be the last time I ever saw him. And that was actually the first and last time he ever talked to me about his missions and his war days. So that's sort of my special memory about that.
Last Thanksgiving, we were going through all my dad's stuff and finding things after he had died, and really amazed that he kept in touch with some of the guys that long. Found his wings, and I wore them Thanksgiving Day. And my mother, when I walked in, my mother got a very strange look on her face. She got very sentimental, and I thought, oh, Mary Ann, you know, you're really stupid. You know, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have worn them. And I said, well, Mom, what's the matter? She said, well, when your daddy would come home on leave, I would always, before he left, I would always kiss his wings. for luck. And I just want to say, Mom, it worked. And that's the reason why we're all here today. Thank you.
That's right.
Daddy, thanks a lot.
Also, Valerie, I wanted to make sure that you got one of these awards as well. Thank you for joining us. It's been wonderful getting to know all of you. There's also one other award that, not an award, but a memento, if you will, that was provided by my cousin, Doug Arnold. It's the Tom Brokaw, The Greatest Generation Speaks. And Doug claims he's a big shot in the advertising business, and he's had it personally autographed by Tom Brokaw to each of the crew members or one of the families. Can I say it? Yeah. It's all right. I mean, it's a wonderful inscription from Tom Brokaw. However, the handwriting looks incredibly like Arnold handwriting. I'll let you guys decide.
I gave him mine.
So I'd like for Valerie, if you would take this book as a memento, please. All right. The Spangler family. Linda Spangler, if you would come up, please.
I'm not much of a speech maker, but I think I've learned more in the last 24 hours about my father's missions that he did during the war, and I just want him to know that I'm extremely proud of him and also extremely thankful that he sacrificed what he did to ensure the freedom of my generation.
Where's Harold? Raise your hand. Back there, okay. Thank you. Okay, next, the Tope family. First of all, Catherine Stoller. Raise your hand. No, it's right there. Kevin and Diane Bear. Jack and Tammy Todreas. And then Connie Tope Scarpelli, if you come up, please.
I'm not much of a speaker either, so I'd like to ask my sisters, Diane, to come help pull me up. Okay. And Nicholas. First of all, I'd like to thank the Mayhall family for making this weekend possible. You have no idea what it's meant to all of us. Okay. Anyway, Dad never really talked about the war much when we were growing up.
And it's only been in the last few years that he started to talk more about it and to mention the crew members and to give us a little bit of insight into what it was really like to be there. And today helped fill in a lot more of the missing pieces. And none of us can ever understand what it was like because we weren't there. And hopefully it will never ever happen again. And I just want to say to Dad and to his crew members, we're very proud of you and we thank you.
And last but not least, the Whiting family. I would like Robbie and Janet Whiting, please. You know them? You know where they are? All right.
All right.
Ron and Joanne. And then Dan and Linda, English. And then if Cheryl English would please come up to talk a little bit about her granddad.
I'd like to start by thanking the Mayhall family. This has been a wonderful experience and we've had a great time. And one of my earliest memories of my grandfather was going to the cemetery for Memorial Day services. And if you read your biographies, you'll see that he hasn't missed one in over 52 years. And for as long as I've been alive, I've been there as well. I remember watching the parade as he marched by, trying to pick him out, look for him in his uniform. And back then I didn't know what his uniform meant. I just knew how much I loved my grandfather. And how wonderful he is. I'm sorry. But now that I'm older, I know what that uniform means. It means that my grandfather and all these other people who served were very brave people who sacrificed so much for their countries. I know my grandfather not only is a veteran, but also is a very important part of our family. He's a very giving and loving man who is very special to all of us. We love you, we're very proud of you, and we thank God for you every day.
The couple of people who said they don't like to give speeches, I'll make up for them. The one opportunity I've had is I've spoken with Harold and Bob and Carl a little bit today, and some of the other gentlemen that I've communicated with associated with the 398. It's amazing how much they downplay the role that they played in the world as it is today. And there are books and there are movies that talk about it and say much more than I could ever say specifically about it. But these gentlemen, in their biographies and in their conversations, said, oh, I was just a dumb 19 or 20-year-old and I didn't know any better and I just did what I had to do and got out of it. Consistently didn't over-dramatize or overstate the case. And then as I've gotten to know them and know their families, and it's no understatement to say that they saved the civilized world, that they have made the United States the incredible country that it is today. And you see 50, 60-year marriages You see wonderful children and wonderful grandchildren. And I think if that's unremarkable, then I pray to God that I have the most unremarkable life ever. So thank all of you once again for joining us. And thanks my helpers. Let's hear it for the helpers.
Don't mind me, I'm just
hiding over here.
just a memory.
On behalf of the crew and their families, I'd like to thank the Mayhall family for getting this together. It's something that just never would have been done, I don't think, otherwise. It's just fabulous. And thanks very much.
You know Whitey's got something to say.
Go ahead, Carl. I think for the first time in his life, Carl is struck dumb. I promised myself that I would not break down. I never could keep a promise. This has been just fabulous. I can't get over what's been done for this humble 3 or 4 that are left. And I would be remiss if I did not ask you to remember those that have gone before us. Wonderful crew. You ever see people like that again? But we never had. Thanks again for everything that you made.
I said, Jim, I think he's got his acting career started over in England. Because he and Throck, Schonsbach, every place we went, they'd put on a little skit. One of them would be Hitler. And, they'd hold the comb up under the nose. And they'd put on a skit. And down at the railroad station or any place, English people around there, they'd just break up. They just thought it was the funniest thing they ever saw.
I think that's about it. But thanks again, Mayhall, and thanks again for everybody coming. I love you all. Thank you.
Where is your brother?
You did a great job.
Are you going to tell the...
Jim.
No, he heard the story this evening.
Oh, he did? Okay.
No, it's true. It's true. We had to land in France. The short version is that on the bomb run, we were unable to get our bombs released. And we had, they called in those days, a togglier. Our Schwansbach was flying lead somewhere. So the 8th Air Force, in their wisdom, figured, well, if Schwansbach knows where he's dropping them, we'll give you an enlisted man in your plane to hit the toggle switch when the hits go up, called the togglier, bombardier togglier. Couldn't get the bombs out. So in our wisdom, we sent him back on this little catwalk in the bomb bay. Nothing between him and 35,000 foot. And he's there with a screwdriver. He finally got one bomb out, and we just couldn't keep up pretty much. The upside of it was we were running out of gas because of the overweight. We couldn't keep up with the 8th Air Force. And we didn't know if we had enough gas to get over the English Channel. Kind of off the record, we thought, well, this is a good chance to land in France. You know, the CEO's got to buy this. We run out of gas. So we told your dad, no, look, get us as close to Paris as you can get.
Find a good vineyard.
Yeah. So he landed us on an abandoned German fighter strip about 30 miles from Paris.
Oh, so this was after D-Day?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. And we never quite forgave him for that. Actually, it was the safest thing we could do. That story is true. We all got sick on the French water. They told us the first day we landed, well, if you are in France, don't drink the water. Well, then the excitement of it, the water and talk. I was gone for 2 days. But the story's true.
Okay. How did you get out?
With great difficulty. That's not meant to be flippant. That's exactly what it was. They would not take our bombs off. They didn't have an armament for us. So we'll give you all the gas you want, but we won't take your armament off. So here we are with a full load of bombs almost, and a full load of gas on a fighter strip. You got it. So we went down to the other end, stood on the brakes, took off with that much to spare, all that good stuff.
Okay. Well, I heard bits and pieces of that story from my Irish grandmother, and hers was a little bit more embellished, but I always wondered how you could land a B-17. I'd heard that you'd landed in the field. I couldn't think you'd land a B-17 like that.
No, it's been done. It's been done. Of course, he didn't fly back out again, but they have landed in fields and that sort of thing. Knowing your dad, he probably told your mother that he bailed out over Berlin upside down.
That's a little bit closer to the story I heard.
I think you should tell him the story about seeing the friendlies with their landing lights flashing.
He may have heard the story or not. Your dad's only words of wisdom, I guess. There again, we had gotten lost from the 8th Air Force going to Merseburg and in an overcast. So the whole 8th Air Force went down, and we, in our wisdom, decided to come up. We drove through in the clearing. We're all alone. 3 or 4 ships over Germany, all by ourselves. No fighter help or anything else. And over to the left, we could see some P-51s. The crew called them out, P-51s, 95. And 3 or 4 minutes later, your dad saw something in the distance, and he called it out as P-51s, 12 o'clock, blinking their landing lights. There was a second's pause, and the landing lights held their fighters, and what he saw was tracers. I don't know if you ever heard that one or not. I can hear that like it was yesterday. Yep, your dad was the crew's intellectual. He was the brilliance. The rest of us were farm boys and construction workers. He never pulled rank out of salary.
He still ran down on